Hello everyone. I welcome you all to a very important session today in which we are going to learn about one of the most important organ in our body and how it impacts when something happens to it. Yes, I am talking about spinal cord injury. Myself is Alok Vyas and I got my spinal injury in a car accident in which I broke my neck, and therefore below my neck I don't have any sensation and movement in my body. So my complete body is paralyzed and I'm completely dependent on others for doing anything. And when I got the spinal cord injury, I was not aware of what is spinal cord injury, and therefore lots of mishandling has happened, due to which my chances of recovery has gone bad. And then only I decided that I'm going to spread the awareness of spinal cord injury to as many people as possible so that, unlike me, they should not be suffering with spinal cord injury. And even if unfortunately they get the spinal cord injury, they will take proper steps so their chances of recovery will be higher. So let's start. In this session, I'm going to tell you all about what is spinal cord injury, what is spine, like various facts about spinal cord injury, symptoms of spinal cord injury, various levels of spinal cord injury, and different kinds of spinal cord injury. Similarly, like what are the main causes of spinal cord injury and how we can prevent them. And later on I will explain to you in very brief that just in case, even after taking all the precautions, if someone gets the spinal cord injury, then how to handle it and how the life will be. It all depends from person to person. So let's start. As you can see in the top three picture, the first one is spine. So let's talk about spine first. So the spine, as I have written in there, is the most important and most strongest structure of 32 individual bones which are stacked over one over the other, and this is the main thing which provides the support to our whole body and help us in things like bending, stretching, twisting, and all kind of movement. So this is the spine in the first row, and in the second row it shows details about spinal cord. So inside the spine, you can consider the spine as a hollow pipe in which lots of bundles of wires are existing, and at each level, those wires, which we call spinal cord, they comes out of the spine and goes to various areas of our body and help us in getting the sensation and movement in our body. So let me give you an example. Like let's say if just for example, if you touch your hand to a sharp knife, have you realized that immediately your hand goes off that place? Because what happens is the moment you touch the sharp thing, the nerve, the spinal cord which is residing in that area, that immediately sends the message to the brain saying that it is painful. And the brain, what it does is it sends back the message to that area to move the finger away from it immediately. So all this, that's how it works. Like from brain to body, all the messages, reflexes, movement, and everything all depends on the messages which are passed from brain to the body using the spinal cord. Okay, so now you know about the spinal cord. We know spine and spinal cord. Now coming to the spinal cord injury. So spinal cord, in case of spinal cord injury, what happens is because of some accident or some some reasons which I will show you, like what all reasons can cause it, and your spine and spinal cord inside that gets disconnected. So think of it like your bone at the, let's say in the middle of your back, you met an accident and your bone gets broken, and also inside that bone, as I told, there are wires, there are bundles of spinal cord, and they also gets broken. Then what happens is your lower part of the body gets completely disconnected, and whatever brain wants to send the message to the lower part of body doesn't get, and the vice versa, means like if something uh, happens to the lower part of the body, you won't feel it because there is a disconnection between the communication between the brain. Next slide, please. Okay, coming to the key facts about spinal cord injury. So, these are the facts which we have taken from various research article, which shows that every year around the world, around 250,000 to 500,000 people suffers the spinal cord injury, and most of these spinal cord injury can be preventable if the people knows about it, and if the people can take precautions, then these can be avoided. The third fact is this, that spinal cord injury affect more men than the women, and the reason is obvious, that men are always, keen on taking risks, and are more aggressive, so they always try to do some risky thing, and so their chances of hurting their back and the spinal cord is higher. Now coming to the mortality rate, when anyone suffers with spinal cord injury, their chances of their death is very high during the first year. So most of the people dies in the first year, but at the same time, if he survives for the first year and start learning about how to live, and if proper care and service will be given to the person, then his chances of living also can be comparable to the to any normal person, and or you can say that it becomes little bit higher. So it's as said in this slide, it's 2 to 5 times more likely to die before his actual death. So I you will see in the coming slides like why what happens in spinal cord injury, and because of which what all things happen, and all those things cumulatively create your life completely devastated, and that's the reason, like if it can't be handled properly, people dies very quickly. Next slide. Okay, now coming to the symptoms, as I told you earlier also, like what happens is when you get the spinal cord injury, you will face the loss of movement. So, as I have given the example before, or in my case, uh, I got spinal cord injury at neck. So, below the neck, I loss of movement is there. Complete loss of movement means none. I can't move any part of my body. Similarly, loss of sensation. That means the body doesn't feel any hot or cold or any kind of sensation. Third one is that the loss of bowel and bladder control. That means like you won't feel when you want to go to loo, or when you want to go for the toilet. Uh, in unlike the normal person, after your spinal cord injury, you won't feel it, and that needs to be managed in a certain way. There are ways to handle it, but this is what happened, that you lose the sensation of it. Similarly, sexual functions and sensitivity and fertility. all those things also get affected below the spinal cord injury. Third one is the pain and intense stinging sensation. So although you don't have any sensation at the bottom of the bottom part of the spinal cord injury, but sometimes because of short circuiting or little bit of incomplete spinal cord injury, if something is going on at the bottom part of the bottom part of the body try to send the signal to the brain, and it can't reach to the brain, but certain strange things happen, and people like us feel very strange, like some I myself sometimes feel like thousands of ants are running on my leg, although there is nothing on there, but inside I just started feeling that, oh, and that creates lots of irritation and frustration. The next topic is the autonomic dysreflexia. This is very important, and in summary I can just say about it is this, that because of the loss of movement and sensation, what happens is if something wrong is going on in the lower part of the body, because the communication cannot happen with the brain, what happens is body try to send the signal to the brain and the brain can't reach it, so brain tries to understand, and when it doesn't get the answer, you will start feeling high blood pressure, or very you will start sweating very like drastically, or you can just start feeling cold even though it is very hot summer. So all these strange kind of things starts happening after you get the spinal cord injury. Now coming to the levels of spinal cord injury. So let's understand about the various levels of spinal cord injury. Our whole spinal cord injury starts from under the skull, and from there it goes until our bottom or bum, whatever you call it. So as you can see, it is divided into various sections, like from C1 to C7. They call it cervical nerves. Then you have T1 to T12, that is thoracic level, and similarly lumbar level and sacral areas. And as you can see, it's all color coded, that whichever level you get the injury, like let's say if you get the injury at C6, okay, so this picture clearly tells you that if you get the injury at C6, that means all everything in the blue, only that thing will be working on the top part, and everything below that level will become disabled, and will you will not feel any sensation and movement in this area. So these are the this is the way uh, the levels of spinal cord injury is defined, and when the doctor analyze, they tell you in this that, oh, you have C5 spinal cord injury or C3 spinal cord injury, and depending on the levels, the criticality also is different. Like if it is very high, if it is on very high, like C2, C3, people people doesn't can't even speak, and they have to stay on ventilators and all. Whereas if it is at the level of T6, T7, then that means your hands will be working, your head will be working, but uh, you will be your legs will not be working. So in total, they divide the whole body into two things. One is tetraplegia. Tetraplegia means C1 to C8. So your upper half of the body will be working and not the lower part. And the second one is paraplegia. So only your lower part will be working. So you can remember it like para means your legs will be working. Tetra, they also call it quadriplegic. Tetra and quadriplegic is same. So in that case, neither your hand nor your legs, nothing will be working. So I hope you have understood about the levels. Next page, please. Now, coming to the type of spinal cord injury, a spinal cord injury can be divided into two, that is, complete spinal cord injury or incomplete spinal cord injury. In a basic terms, it can be defined in a way that when the injury happens, if all the cords, spinal cord at that level, they all get disconnected, then that is called as spinal cord injury, complete spinal cord injury. Whereas sometimes what happens is uh, you get the injury, but at that level only some of the cords at that level gets affected or disconnected, and some of them still stay working. So those kind of situation we call them incomplete. So in the complete spinal cord injury, you will get paralyzed completely from the level of the injury, whereas in incomplete spinal cord injury, you still might have some more sensation and movement in the other part of body also. Like let's say your right hand might be working, right leg might be working, but you are paralyzed only from the left side, and similar kind of thing. So these are the two types of spinal cord injury. Now, as I told you in the starting, that spinal about the spine and spinal cord. So this picture can in this picture you can see it it clearly tells you about spine and spinal cord. In the bottom picture you can see that outer part of it is a bone, so that is spine, whereas inside there is kind of hollow pipe which consists of like thousands and lots and lots of spinal cord. So that is the area where the spinal cord resides. Now, coming to the top picture is trying to tell you about how the spinal cord injury happens. So, in the first case, it is showing that this person is driving a car, and when he met the accident, his head goes and hit to the glass of the car, and as you can see in that picture, the moment it touched hit the his head hit the glass, you can see the state of his spine. It gets so much of force that the bone gets disconnected, and depending on the density of the force, it can completely disconnect all the cords, or it can disconnect some of the cords. So when our head hits in this way, then they call it as a flexion injury. Next, please. The second scenario is uh, shown in this picture when you fall from somewhere and your head directly hits at the ground, and you can see your whole body's weight is there, and when you hit your head directly to the floor, it it creates such a big impact on the spinal cord, and your spinal cord gets disconnected. This kind of like this one is an example where this person has dived into a water where the it is very shallow water, so he didn't realize he dived into it and his head got hit with the floor, and immediately he gets spinal cord injury. So this is the second way of getting the spinal cord injury. Now, coming to the most important slide, please look at it and try to understand and try to remember this, because these are going to tell you about what all things can cause the spinal cord injury. So, it has been divided into two types. One is non-traumatic and another one is traumatic. In the traumatic, it covers like the road accident, whether it's from the motorbike, whether it's from the car, van, coach, lorry, anything, cyclist. So all this kind of road accident or considered under the traumatic reasons for spinal cord injury. Also, spinal cord injury can happen in the accidents, like let's say uh, someone slides on the stairs. Specifically, this one this one happens mainly with the elderly people, that they are coming down of stairs just because of weak eyesight or something. They miss one step and they just slipped gliding down all the way to the bottom of the ladder, and they break their back and got the spinal cord injury. Similarly, accidents at work, like someone is using some machine and suddenly something hit their back or neck, and they can get spinal cord injury. Another category uh, in which we can get spinal cord injury is the water sports injury. This is, as I told you in the example, that specifically when you are doing the swimming in the swimming pool, the chances of getting the spinal cord injury is very high if you dive into the shallow water. So please, 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 never dive into the water where the floor is shallow, and also never dive into the water where the place is unknown to you. Like you go to some traveling and some river is there, you suddenly decide to dive into the water, and it might not be that deep, and your head can hit the stone or base, and you can immediately get the spinal cord injury. And other major reasons is like falling from the horse, or other sports injury, like you are playing some risky games like skiing or gym or rugby and these kind of things. So in these kind of thing also, chances of getting the spinal injury is very high. Another category is self-harm, which is rarely happens, but yes, criminal assault happens a lot of time, where someone stabs you in your spine or someone shoots you down in the spine, because of which your spine gets disconnected and immediately you get the spinal cord injury. So I hope you can remember these and you will try to take the precautions. Now the next category, they call it uh, non-traumatic reasons, and that can happen because of the health conditions, like if you have cancers, you developed a tumor or something in your spine, you have multiple sclerosis, or any kind of inflammation in the spinal cord injury, and you go for the surgery, and sometimes a little mishandling by the doctor during the surgery can take away uh, your spinal cord, and you can end up in the spinal cord injury. So you have seen that 90% of the cases happens due to the traumatic causes, but slowly and steadily uh, the proportion of non-traumatic spinal cord injury is also growing. Okay, so I give you a few seconds so you can go through it again, and just try to remember this so that you know like what are the causes of the spinal cord injury. Okay, let's move to the next slide, please. Now, when we know all the causes which we have seen in the previous slide, we should be aware of like how we can prevent ourselves from this spinal cord injury, so that we won't have to spend our whole life in a very very problematic and devastating and painful life. Okay, so to secure yourself from having the spinal cord injury, there are certain rules which every one of you should follow very sincerely, not for others but for yourself. And some of them are like this. Before that, I want to tell you that just in case when anyone gets a spinal cord injury, his body needs to be handled very, very carefully. Like you can see in the picture, you need to put the patient straight on the stretcher. You need to stabilize his neck so that, like, just assume that in the accident you you hit your spine got disconnected, and little bit of compression has happened on the spinal cord, but the cords are still okay. Okay, then what happens is, if you don't handle it properly, then while going from the location of the accident to the various hospitals and all, your neck will keep hurting, like back, forth, this and that, and that creates a problem because the bone which is already broken acts as a sharp knife, and that disconnects most of your spinal cord. So then your chances of recovery is very less, and this is what has happened in my case. I was not aware of, neither do anyone around me. None of them were aware of. So I haven't been treated in this manner, that no one has stabilized my neck or the body, and therefore my chances of recovery has gone completely to zero. One fact is there, why spinal cord is very problematic is that, uh, if it is a bone in the body, bone can regrow, but the spinal cord is a nerve, and up till now, the nerves never grow. Like, once it is disconnected, the nerve never grows. There are investigations and research going on to find out the ways of regrowing it, but in naturally it doesn't go on its own. And that's the reason, once you get the spinal cord injury, it is you are going to stay in that condition for the whole of your life. Now, coming to the second precautions which we need to take is, always wear a seat belt while in a car. Not only you, whosoever is in the car, whether it's your family or anything, whether they are on rear seat or on the front seat, everyone should be wearing the seat belt. If they are not wearing, it's your duty to ask them to put the seat belt, because even if they become angry, you know from inside that you are doing for their goodness. So don't hesitate in telling them to wear the seat belt, and also yourself also, never drive any car or stay in the car without any seat belt. Third one is, whenever you are playing any sports, make sure that you put the protective gears, proper protective gears, like helmets and pads, and depending on various games. Don't show your like macho man kind of uh, image of yours, that, oh, I'm not scared of, I can play without the helmet. Never do that, because you never know, one small hit by the ball or anything, and you can end up in the spinal cord injury. So please remember this one also. Third one is, never dive into the water unless you have examined it b- first, to make sure that it is deep enough and free of rocks. So I have said it before also, and this I have put it again, that don't dive into the water before you know that it is deep enough that when you dive, your head is not going to hit it. Or I should say, better not to dive at all. Like, only if you want to dive, then you have to learn about how to dive with a coach, and then only uh, you should start diving first into the deep water. And even in shallow water, there are ways of diving, but until you learn it, don't dive. Please, I request you sincerely, don't dive into the shallow water. Coming to the next one is, never drive the car or any vehicle if you are not feeling well. If you are unconscious or feeling dizzy or anything, it can be it can either be by drinking alcohol or some health issue. So if you are not feeling up to the mark, never drive, because if you are driving, you are not only putting the your own life into the risk, but at the same time you are putting the putting the all the others in your vehicle, their life also you are putting into the risk. So try to not only try, never drive, okay? And one most important thing, that while you are driving, I repeat, while you are driving, never allow the person on your side seat to sleep while you are driving. So when you are driving, if someone is sitting on your left side, whether it's your friend, your wife, your kid, anyone, never let them sleep. If they are feeling sleepy, ask them to go at the back seat, and then only you continue drive, because sleep is very contagious, and if someone is sleeping near on your side seat, chances of you getting the sleep becomes very higher, and then the chances of accident becomes very high. So make sure that neither you sleep nor allow anyone else to sleep while driving the car. Next one is, be careful even if you are only walking on or using the stairs. Like, so, like in case of young people, sometimes they try to jump across the stair to get down quickly, and in case of elderly people, they they when they try to get down, they don't hold anything in their hand, and in those cases chances of slipping down on the ladder becomes very high, and chances of getting the spinal cord injury becomes very high. So please try to avoid all these mistakes. Then the last one is, keep keep having a regular checkup of the body. Whenever you feel anything, any small problem in your body, just make sure that you go and get it checked with the doctor, because sometimes it's a small thing, but if you don't take care of it, it becomes a big one. And things like tumors in the back, disc, slip disc, and other kind of things, or any cancer and all, they can end up in the spinal cord injury. So be careful about it. I leave this screen for just a few more seconds so you can go through it, because this is very important. You can even note it down. I will upload this whole video, and I will give you the URL so that you can go through it and show it to your family members also. And because if you love your family members, I'm sure you are going to share it with them, so that they also become aware of all these things, and they can lead their life happily instead of getting into the spinal cord injury. Yeah, next please. Now once So up till now we have learned about spinal cord injury, what are the causes and how we can prevent it. Now in this slide, I'm just talking in brief about what happens if, even after taking all the precautions, if you get the spinal cord injury. So in this case, like mine or anyone, there is a saying that God help those who help themselves. So it's you who has to control your willpower to fight with it instead of just giving up. And there are ways and things available which can help you in converting your disability to the capability. For example, as you are seeing right now, I am using a voice software through which I am controlling my laptop. And so software wise, gadgets wise, there are so many things available which even a disabled persons can handle. If you are paraplegic, like if your legs are not working, you have the wheelchair to help you. And specifically, the support of friends and family members makes a lot of difference. And if you never give it up, then they will also stay motivated. Otherwise, you will be in a problem, and if you will be in a problem, they also will stay sad. So keep them happy, and try to achieve as many good things as possible with whatever you are left with after the spinal cord injury. The other things which can help after the spinal cord injury is the rehabilitation, which consists of physiotherapy, occupational therapy. So in the physiotherapy, um, they they tell you about various exercises and various kind of cushions which you need to use while sitting up, and other things uh, which can keep you active. In the occupational therapist, it they tells you about how your home should be so that you can easily move around in your home using your wheelchair, and they tells you a lot about various kind of splints and gadgets and equipments which are available already, and using them you can live a life similar to any able-bodied person. And let me tell you, happy while I'm calling them able-bodied person, I have seen people who has got all the physical limbs and everything working, but there are many who are disabled from inside. They are in the depression, they are crying, they are, so many things happening to them. So don't compare them. Sometimes they are worse than the disabled people. So even if you get disability, stay motivated, try to do things which can make you happy and make others happy. And that's what I am also trying to do. And the last one is the splints and the gadgets. So these are the kind of various equipments which which I have given the website. So when you watch my video again, you can note them down and you can go through those website so that you can see like there are so many different kinds of splints and gadgets available which can help you in living a normal life. Like you can see, I am wearing the splints for keeping my arms straight. Okay, I can't use my arm, but if I won't keep them straight, they will start bending. So the physiotherapist has suggested me some splints. The next one is the assistive technology. This consists of all different kind of softwares and mobility aid, like certain changes in your mobility, like cars and all, which can enable you to drive, and prosthetic things which can allow you to run and all. So all those things are possible even after the spinal cord injury. It's just that you have to be you have to keep your willpower and keep yourself motivated. So in summary, today we have learned about spinal cord injury, what are the main causes of injury, how we can prevent it. Up till that it's very important, and then last this slide we have learned that if it happens, then how with the help of different gadgets we can live our life uh, in the same way as any other person. Next slide please. Now I'm just this slide I have just created to give you an idea of people who has got disability, but they didn't their disability didn't stop them from doing things. Like everyone knows Christopher Reeve. He is the one who has made the first Spider-Man movie. He got accident by falling from the horse and he became disabled helper. But even after that, he continued making movies and doing all his fashion. Nick Vujicic was born without any limb, no legs, no hands. But I want you to go in the YouTube and watch the video of him. Oh, he is like a person full of energy, and he has done he can do everything what you can't even imagine. Think of can you imagine someone doing the swimming without any legs or hands? Yes, this guy has done that also. So go through the videos of all these. You can see the Pragya Guildhall. She is paraplegic, but she has decided and she represented India in the Paralympics. Sparsha, this person, this small boy, he is still there and you can watch his video. And he has the problem with his bone. He his bone keeps cracking even now, but he hasn't given up. He is compiling so many songs. He is one of the most famous rapper and things like that. Stephen Hawkins. So all these people are an example of uh, the real life in which, although you, even after having this the disability, no one can stop them. Next slide, please. So that's all from my side, and this is what I have put in the last slide, that if you like this video and if you feel that this is the important information which can save people and their friends and family members, then please help us in spreading the word about it, word about our website, word about the sharing our link of the video, and similarly sharing the website, Facebook, and the webinar link. And if you have any questions, you can always send email to our email address, or put a note on the Facebook, and we will try to answer you back immediately. Thank you very much for your time. I hope this would be helpful. Please, I request you again to note down the website, Facebook page, and the webinar link, and show it to your parents and other friends and family members also, so that they also will get benefited with this knowledge, and they also will not get trapped into the spinal cord injury and don't end up in this very painful and very dependable life. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, evening, or have a nice, very nice uh, life. All the best to all of you. Thank you.